Welcome to Uncommon Analysis. We're going to look at the state of the Senate right now, particularly in Pennsylvania, which is where I'm from. I've lived in that state now for 35 plus years, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But I want to talk about the Senate race in general. So let's start out with West Virginia. West Virginia was pretty much the given. This was the seat that was going to get Republicans back up to 50. There was never really any doubt about this seat. Manchin, long time Democrat powerhouse, former governor, multi-term senator, um, retired, leaving the seat open, and Justice just kind of came in and just, as you can see, wiped the floor. It wasn't even a race, guys. I don't like to pick on Glenn. I don't know him, but those are the kind of guys you got to give your tip to him. He knew going in he was going to get clobbered. But he did it anyway. So, let's tip out to Glenn Elliott. But there was never any doubt about that race, ever. So that put the, the country or the Senate at even odds, 50-50, which meant if Trump wins the White House, we have J.D. Vance to break any ties. And so that gave at least a 50-50. The next state, look as Montana. This was another pretty much automatic. As you can tell, Tester, a remnant of a long bygone era in this state. Held on for a long time. He kind of kept holding on, but that was not this time. This one gone. Pretty solid win, 7-point win for Sheehy. So that puts the Republicans at 51. So now they have a true majority within the Senate and looking good. Next place to go in the map is Ohio. In Ohio, this one is interesting because Ohio, this Brown, when you talk to people before the election, man, no one was really comfortable that Moreno was going to win this. It wasn't uncomfortable, but it wasn't given how how well Trump has performed in Ohio over multiple cycles now. Uh, you would think that this kind of would be the understood outcome that Moreno was probably going to win this and win it solidly, but there was not huge confidence to most people that you talk to in the political realm. There was a lot of belief that Brown might hold on to that seat. So now we're at 53. I'm sorry, at 52. 56, we gained 3, so 49 to 52. Now we're going to go over to Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania, this one has been called by AP for McCormick, but clearly the CNN politics site, which is what I'm on right now, has not called this race. This race was, and I said beginning of the race that Trump will win Pennsylvania. If Trump wins it by 2, then McCormick will certainly win the Senate seat because Trump's coattails will pull him over. Trump ended up winning this state by 2, and McCormick is right on the bubble. There's still about 2% of the vote out there for provisional ballots, some overseas ballots. So this could, in theory, flip, but it's 35,000 votes at this point. I think McCormick's going to hold on to it, um, giving us 53 seats. So odds are good. I'd say odds are better than odds are more that McCormick will hold on than lose, but still not official. That leads us to some of the other upper Midwestern states. Trump did overperform here, Rogers, but he did not win it by as much. In fact, Donald Trump won Michigan by, let me look here, guys, 1.4. So yeah, I would have put the handicapping of Michigan similar to Pennsylvania, that if Trump had won by 3, he would have pulled the senator over with his coattails. Unfortunately, and at 2, like I said, he did it at 2 and put McCormick on the bubble. In Michigan, unfortunately, he only won it by 1.4. And I know that sounds insane to say only when that's nearly 80,000 votes, over 80,000 votes, um, given the history of the last couple of cycles, elections through the rest of it. But that 80 some thousand votes, while a very impressive win for Trump, was not quite enough to pull Rogers over. So Eliza Slotkin is going to hold that. It's going to take that seat, but not by much, guys. Not by much. That's what, 23,000 votes, 24,000 votes. Yeah, not even. Sorry, 14,000 votes. No, yeah, 21,000 votes. Sorry, my don't have my glasses on. All right, Wisconsin, same deal. If Trump had won this one by 3, I would have said he would have safely pulled over the Republican as well. Unfortunately, he only won this state by not even by 0.9%. Hove, to his credit, did well. Baldwin did the best of any of these Democratic senators up in this part of the country. And I don't, and it's not surprising that she did. She was probably she embraced her association with Trump's policies, or at least in the advertising, played them up and never attacked Trump, never ran away from Trump. She kind of connected herself to Trump almost from day one. Um, other people here did that as well. Casey kind of at the last minute tried to, at the very last minute after criticizing a bunch of Trump's policies. Um, at the last moment, he tried to tie himself to some of the things that Trump, all things Trump, and it was a little too late. But Baldwin did that very very early, and she holds on to a 0.9% win, which is interestingly the exact same margin that Trump won the state by. So again, I think if Trump had won the state by 3, he almost certainly would have pulled Hove over. Same thing here in Michigan. If he won by 3, he would have pulled over 3 here. I don't know the ones. This one he pulled by 2. It's right on the bubble, and the rest of these are a little under. This is 0.9, and this is 1.2, I believe, on Trump, something like that. What was Michigan? Sorry, 1.4. So this is a 2-point win. This is a 1.4 win, and this is a 0.9 win for Trump. And as you can see, on the bubble, probably going to win. Slight loss, bigger loss. So, but still, Republicans have gained 4 seats, one, two, three, four, since last election cycle across these states. Going over to Arizona, there's still 23% of the vote out. Trump obviously won Arizona um, in a big way. And let's see, he is up by 6.1%, which is huge. I would think with that kind of margin, he would be able to carry Lake over, but Lake, for some reason, has always pulled poorly this cycle. She's been behind, pretty significantly behind Gallego in almost every poll. But it is still, there's still, 23% of the vote out. It could change. I mean, it's almost 40,000 votes. That's a lot of votes, but it could change. Interesting thing in Arizona is Trump did flip, when it was all said and done, he did flip Maricopa, which is just amazing to think about, that Trump won Maricopa County after all the drama around that county through two or three election cycles. Um, that to me is just crazy, but he did do it. That's how massive this victory for him was. Lake, however, did not, or at least so far has not flipped Maricopa. She's 4 points behind Maricopa. Trump flipped it outright. So we'll keep an eye on it. It's certainly a possibility, but I would say not likely. This one still hasn't been called, which is interesting because this is a pretty high. There's 96% of the vote in. Um, Delta is what, 17,000-ish votes. Oh, this has been called. Okay, yeah, this has been called. Right, Jackie Rosen has been. So this has been called. So this is off. This one's gone. But still, um, solid showing by Republicans. Good job. I think probably the things I would note about this election, not this election today, but if I was going to talk about these states, the swing of West Virginia and Montana, um, not in this cycle, but just overall in the last couple decades, is just insane. West Virginia at one point was one of the bluest states on the map. It only voted red like in insane wave elections, like things like Ronald Reagan's reelection in 1984 and Nixon's reelection in 1972. Those are like one of the few times West Virginia ever went red in the last century. They were just Democratic, solid Democrat. And then in the late 90s, the Democratic Party started their environmental embrace, attacking coal, and that state now is redder than most states you would think of when you think of red state. The Republicans hold a supermajority in the legislature. They hold pretty much every statewide office now. I think that's been the case for quite a long time. I mean, this is just insane. And Montana's the same deal. They were once a fairly reliably blue state, not nearly at the West Virginia level, but there was a good decade plus there. I mean, it was a blue state. They had a lot of union, hardworking people. Lumber was one of the bigger industries. And then on the same, just like following the same dumb uh, playbook, Democrats went after lumber in the timber industry. And from that point on, that state has just swung massively right. It is now supermajority in its legislatures, and I think every statewide office is red. And this was just in a matter of like a few decades. Just in a few decades, that swing has happened in both of those states. And Ohio's kind of moving there. Went from a swing state to it's not a swing state anymore, guys. Ohio's not a swing state. It could everything's in flux. Anything can change it. But I think you're going to see on alignment. And I also want to say in the larger, I think you're seeing particularly this part of the country go through a realignment that it's not over yet, but I think, it's going to take a little bit more time, but I think you're going to see this part of the country continue to move generally right. To It would not surprise me in a couple more cycles if this section of the country is just about as reliably red as this part of the country. I've thought that for a while. I think a political realignment of this section of the country has been long overdue, um, and we'll see if it continues or not. Anyway, that's it. 52-44, maybe gonna be 53-44 almost certainly. Possibly you'll get 54, but um, that's still I wouldn't I'd be happy to see it, but I'm a little more hesitant on that one. This one, it's not a sure thing, but it's darn close. All right, guys. And if we get above 52, 52 is good. It's good solid. We got the margin as a Republican conservative. That's great. If we get to 53, however, which we hopefully will with Pennsylvania, that is a big, big thing for Trump and for the conservative movement because at that point, guess what? Those three senators that always seem to be the little um, guys that would play games when we try to accomplish something. If you remember, it was always Collins, Murkowski out of Alaska, and Romney out of Utah. Well, Romney has retired. He is no longer with us. If we can get to 53, Collins and Murkowski no longer have the leverage to play the kind of games they played, right? We'll need them if it's 52. We're going to need at least one of them, right? Because, well, if they get to 50, then you could have Vance come in, but that's not likely to happen. So really, you could theoretically push without either one of them. I really think it'd be tough to. I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but hopefully that would not be the case. So theoretically, 52 is good. 53, though, then you never have to deal with, I need a tiebreaker vote. Those guys can do whatever they want, and we still have 51 votes without going into the whole, oh, well, we got to call up Vance to come in and break that tie. Anyway, that's it, guys. I'm out. Have a good day.